Hello dear students, welcome to a new lesson. Today we are going to focus on vocabulary with our new lesson, which is collocations related to education. So let's start with a definition. What is a collocation? A collocation is a word made of two or more words that usually go together. Okay, so we take two English words, we put them together, we have a new word. Let's look at examples. The first example is physical education. So we have physical, the adjective, and we have education. We put them together, we have a new word, which is physical education, a subject that you study at school. Some students would say sport, but it's not just sport, it's a physical education, which means you do sport, but you know other things about education related to sports, etc. So physical education. Another example is school bag. We have school, and we have bag, and we put them together and we come up with school bag. So these are two types of collocations. Okay? We have so many collocations, but today our focus is on these examples. We are going to see more. So let's start with example combinations. So as you have seen with physical education, it's adjective plus noun. Adjective plus noun. And school bag, it's noun plus noun. Okay? So these are some collocations we are going to study today. Let's start with educational system. The Japanese educational system is very developed. Here we mean by educational system everything related to education in a country. From the books that students study, from the way they study, from the way the ministry organizes the educational system, etc. So that's educational system. Educational background, we have here a sentence and the definition. Everything you have studied from kindergarten to university or more is your educational background. Okay? Educational background. It's how you speak, how you act, etc. Everything you do is governed by your educational background. Educational goals. Look at these sentences. My educational goals for this year are: number 1, to graduate with high grades. Number 2, to be accepted in medical school. So these are educational goals. Everybody has certain goals depending on where they are, etc. So when we say educational goals, which means what do you wish to achieve concerning education. School year, that's an easy one. So the school year 2019-2020 was a difficult one because of COVID-19. So that's the school year. The school year is different from the other years. For example, the agriculture year, the touristic year, etc., depending on where you are on the world. But when we say the school year, it starts with September and it ends with June or July, depending on where you are. School uniform. Look at this sentence. All girls in our school need to wear a school uniform, but not boys, which is kind of discrimination. So, but let's look at school uniform is that piece of cloth that girls wear at school, and it is one form. That's why we say school uniform. School subjects. The school subjects I like best are English, math, and physics. So when we say school subjects, we mean the subjects that we study at school, like English, math, physics, philosophy, etc. These are school subjects. Equal opportunities. All students need to be tested the same way to provide equal opportunities for everyone and be fair, which means you treat everybody the same way. You provide them with the same opportunities. That's what we mean by equal opportunities. Equal rights. All people should have equal rights in order to have a just society. We have to provide justice. In order to live in a justice or a democratic country, everybody should have the same rights, equal rights, okay? Equal status. All the people in our country have an equal status. No one is better than anyone else. We should treat each other equally. So the same status. For example, if you are a teacher, and we compare you with other teachers, we say you are all teachers. You have an equal status. If you are a student, every student is the same. You have equal status. Boys and girls should have equal status. We should not treat one better than the other or worse than the other, etc. So that's what we mean by equal status. Private school. Rich people pay to teach their kids in a private school. So private school is the opposite of public school or state school. So we say private, which means you have to pay to go and study in a private school. Private lessons. She takes private lessons because she was absent for 1 month. So private lessons are lessons that you take in maybe an association or an educational center, etc., that is not related to the state. You pay a teacher to teach you things maybe you were absent at school, or maybe something that you don't have at school, you want to study it outside the school. We call these private lessons, okay? Private institution. My father has many private institutions, especially schools and hotels. So we are very rich. You can say private school or private institution. But here, when we say private institution, we mean any institution that is private, not only educational. It can be a touristic, like hotels. It can be a hospital. It can be anything that is private. So we say it's a private institution. University graduate. University graduates are finding it difficult to get a job. If you are a university graduate, it means that you have finished studying at the university the 3 or the 4 years, the first 3 or 4 years. You have now a university degree, another collocation, okay? University, you get a university degree like a BA or a MA, etc. So you are a university graduate. Basic education. Basic education refers to everything people study in elementary school. So, basic education means that you know how to read, how to write, how to calculate certain math equations, the simple things, the things you need to act as an active member of society. You need to have, at first, you need to have basic education. Then, if you want to continue your studies, you can continue, but that is just for you. But you must first have basic education in order to continue your studies with whatever you want. University degree, as we just said, you need to graduate with the university degree to get a good job. So BA, Bachelor of Arts, that's a university degree, okay? Master, when you finish your master studies, you get a master's degree, an MA, etc., or different master. PhD is also university degree. Okay, so these are university degrees. Higher education. Higher education starts after secondary school. When you go to university, you are in higher education. So we have secondary education, then we have after secondary, we have higher education. Free access. Look at this. With free access to the internet, a lot of students will do research easily. Free access means you access the internet without paying. You don't give money. That's free access. Learning needs. All students in our school have different learning needs depending on their level and their major. For example, if you are a scientific student, you have different learning needs from those that a student in the arts or literature needs. Okay? If you are in elementary school, you have different learning needs than a student in secondary school or at the university, etc. So that's what we mean by learning needs. Things that you require to study, that you are required to study, that you need to study. So we call them learning needs. Gender discrimination. Gender discrimination refers to the situation when boys and girls are treated differently based on their sex. So if you treat them differently, it means you are discriminating between the gender. So we should not discriminate between gender. We shouldn't have gender discrimination. Mixed classes. Mixed classes are classes where both boys and girls study. So in mixed classes, we don't have gender discrimination. We shouldn't have gender discrimination. Mixed classes. Mixed classes are classes where both boys and girls study. So in mixed classes, we don't have gender discrimination. We shouldn't have gender discrimination. Cultural background. As we come from different countries, we also have different cultural backgrounds. We can also have different cultural backgrounds even in the same country. For example, the North is different from the South. It's different from the East and the West. It depends on your culture. So your culture is your cultural background. It's what guides you. Okay? Evening classes. She goes to evening classes to study physics and math because she was left behind when she was ill. So evening classes are a certain type of classes that you go to study in that are not at your school. They are outside your school, and because students study during the day, so those centers, language centers or other centers that provide educational services, they provide you with evening classes so that you can study. For example, you can study languages at night, or you can study different subjects to consolidate what you have studied at school. So we call them evening classes. Adult illiteracy. The problem of adult illiteracy is decreasing. More people know how to read and write. Okay, so adult illiteracy is a type of illiteracy, and illiteracy is when people don't know how to read and how to write. We call them illiterate, so that's illiteracy. But if we have it with children, that's normal because they are going to start to learn. What is not normal is with adults. That's why we say adult illiteracy. Okay, rural poverty. Rural poverty refers to poverty in small villages or rural areas. Okay, poverty, it's the same, but we have urban poverty and we have rural poverty. Now we come to practice what we have just studied. So let's get started with the practice. Fill in the blanks with an appropriate collocation from the list. So this is the first practice. We have school uniform, school subjects, educational system, private lessons, equal opportunities. I want you to put these words into the sentences. So what we are going to do is pause the video for a few minutes, do the exercise, and come back to see the correction. Okay? Good. So now let's correct. I like all my school subjects, but I like best English and math. The Moroccan suffers from many flaws and it needs a total reform by the Minister of Education. So it is the Moroccan educational system. All girls in our school have to wear school uniform. All graduates need to have an equal opportunity when getting a job. I had to take private lessons because I was absent in most of my in-school lessons. Good. To receive more videos, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next lesson. Bye.